Alright, here's how I get my Zeppelin Sound. I have a preset set up under the custom user setting. So you press user and then you set it up there. Let's take a look at the triggers first. Let's go to the beginning. Okay, so there's your kick trigger settings, and you see the sensitivity, and this is the talk over. This keeps everything so that it doesn't bleed into other drums. And re-trigger, I have it set to 0, and then the threshold 39, and then the curve is EXP2. So you can just go through and you select these with this console right here. You can go up, down, and then you select. There's a snare rim, and this is the toms, and this is the Alesis Strike Pro SE. So this is tom head 1, tom 1, tom 2. This is the rims right here. So I don't really mess with the rims too much, except I do have some added cymbals here where I'll redirect the rims from, I believe it's tom 3 and tom 4, to be a cowbell on this one and a splash on this one. Bonham really didn't use a splash, but I just have it there because it sounds pretty good if you're trying to do live immigrant song instead of the hi-hat. The hi-hat is as best as I could get it, but it still sounds really good when you do a splash on the immigrant song with an electronic set, at least this one. But you don't really have to mess with the rims all that much. Here's the head, tom 4, here's the rim again, hi-hat bow, or bow, whatever you call it, edge is crash 1, I'll go back to the edge so you could see it again, crash 2, bow and edge, and then I have crash 3 as well. There's a ride. See if I focus in a little bit more. It says sensitivity is 86 in case you can't see it. That's the ride bow or bow, edge. And that's it on the triggers. And the triggers are pretty important because it really keeps everything apart, especially when you're running through a PA, and it makes a difference. I played around with the triggers quite a bit, and it just makes a huge difference as far as you know, dynamics is in the drum set, especially with the hi-hat. The hi-hat is especially important. That one I probably played with the most. The same with the crashes. The drums not so much. I didn't really play around with them too much, but and then this is all based on the initial setting for, I think it's called the big. Let me just see what I based this whole kit off of. I'll go back. I'll go to preset. It's all based off of the Big Bird kit. So you can do everything from the Big Bird kit. At least that's how I did it. You could do it off any kit, obviously, but I did it all off the Big Bird kit. And some things are just a little tweaked from there. So let's go to the instruments now. So you touch voice right here, and then here's the secret I really use right here is these different instruments, right? So layer A, that's the kick head, and that's, you see 26 by 14. That's the selection LFW 26 by 14 ambient. And then you see the decay. I played around with the instruments quite a bit. The decay, pan, level. And then I also did a second layer, which is muted. So I have a combination of ambient and muted, layer A and layer B. So you can just select those, and I'm not going to go through a tutorial on how to do that. I'm just showing you the settings. And then you can mess with the decay, and you can, mess with the pan, which I have the kick in the middle, obviously, and then the levels. The levels are usually all turned up. Same with the decay, most of them. Snare head, okay, so you see 14-inch phonic, superphonic center, and then I have it double layered. That's kind of the secret that I use, is the double layering of the drums, because Bonham had very loud drums, and he played those Vista lights for a while, and he played the Ludwig maple 3-plies, and they were all very loud. So that's how I get the loud sound, a double layering. And again, it's not exact, but it's pretty close for electronic drums. Here's a snare rim. You see I don't double layer the snare rim there. And there's a tom head. So this is the levy. So like to simulate when the levy breaks, I double layer all of that. You see that? Layer A and layer B. And it really makes a difference on the loudness when you double layer it. And then here's your different toms. So this is a 13-inch, rim for the tom. Hold on, you see that? So tom 1. Actually, I should have put a 14-inch in there. I got to change that, even though the rim really doesn't make too much of a difference. And then tom 2. I don't really use tom 2 when I play Zeppelin, because it's right next to tom 1 right here. So tom 1 and tom 2, Bonham didn't have two toms above his bass drum. He had the one tom, and then he had two floor toms, which are right there. So I just added that in there because it makes you add something for tom 2 head, in case I hit it by mistake. So that's a Levy 16-inch. Same with the rim. And then you see tom 3. So this is the first floor tom, tom 3. And I double layered Levy 16-inch. And you see the decay, pan, level. But then also I have tone right here. So the tone is a little bit different than tom 2. So you see the tone. And you see the semi-fine cutoff, etc. And I do it for layer A and layer B. I played around with them. Let's go back to the bass drum so that I can show you that. And the snare, I forgot to show you that. So here's the bass drum, and there's the tone on the bass drum. And I really didn't play around with that one too much. Semi, you see semi, it's all on 0, fine, cut off. Same with the snare, I didn't really play with that tone. And this is tom 1 right here, the tone. I didn't play with that. And you see tom 2, the difference between tom 2, which is the second tom above the snare, above the kick drum. I didn't really play around with that too much. Tom 3, you see I played around with it because what it does is it gives you a little bit different of a pitch when you click on semi, or when you mess with the semi right there. It gives you a little, and you know, below 0 is a lower pitch, and above 0 obviously is a higher pitch. So you see it at -3 right there. So let's go back to the instrument. Oh, I'm sorry, not the instrument. Go back to the level. All right, so let's go back. So tom 3, you see a Levy 16-inch, and then I have the different tone from tom 2 right there. All right, and then tom 4, I didn't mess with the, again, the rims are, you see the splash right there. If you don't have a splash, don't pay attention to that. But tom 4 head, again, Levy 16-inch. They don't have an 18-inch on the Alesis, so I had to play around with the tones on the 16-inch. So you see it's a little bit different of a tone for tom 4. It was -2 right there. I should probably lower that a little bit because tom 3 has -3, I believe. So I should probably, I haven't looked at these things in so long. And then hi-hat. So this is the hi-hat that I use, the Big Bird hi-hat bow. It's Big Bird hi-hat tip. See layer A right there. And then the edge, I used the Big Bird hi-hat edge. I played around with the hi-hat quite a bit because I couldn't get the right sound that I wanted, the right dynamic. And I tried using the sound edge selection, but I just didn't like it. And the Big Bird seems to me, at least, it gives you enough of a dynamic without kind of overpowering the drums. All right, and then you see, I don't think I'll give you the level of that, the Big Bird. So here's the levels. Again, they're pretty much turned up. And I didn't double layer that. That was a choice. I tried double layering it, but it was too overpowering. And sometimes when you double layer it and you're you know, trying to keep a beat with your hi-hat, it kind of with electronic drums, it really just kind of, I guess, echoes is the best way I could put it, where it just doesn't, it's not crisp. And then here's the hi-hat foot, again, Big Bird. And then crash, I use the pasty or pasty, whatever way you say it. One is a 20-inch. I didn't mess with the tones on these. Crash 2 is a giant beat. And Crash 3 is an 18-inch. All right, so that's, again, it's a 2002, and the other one's a giant. The other one is a giant beat. And Bonham used both of them. He started out with the giant beats and ended his career with the 2002s, and that's what I have on my Ludwig, all 2002 period cymbals. And then the 24-inch 2002 for the ride. And then there's your settings there. All Alright, so hopefully that helps. And, you know, play around with it, get it up to your liking. I use not only I run everything through a Bose T8S, and I run a little reverb through it as well. I think the reverb really makes a big difference. The reverb on the Alesis is not particularly great, so I have it set to 0 or flat or off. But the Bose T8S really makes a huge difference on the sound of these drums with the reverb. If you can run it through some kind of little reverb mixer, that'll really help you. All right, take care, and hopefully this helps.